On the morning of November 26th, 2025, something happened on the Ukrainian front line that stunned analysts around the world. Not because of a breakthrough, not because of a retreat, but because of the sheer unimaginable scale of destruction reported in just one single day. By sunrise, headlines were already exploding across social media. Ukraine's huge win at Pakovsk, a victory, yes, but one paid for with a cost so enormous, so brutally staggering, that even seasoned military observers paused. In the next few minutes, you're going to hear the numbers, you're going to see the battlefield, and by the time we reach the end of this story, you will understand why November 26th may be remembered as one of the most defining and devastating days of this entire war. Let's begin. This is J&J's Military Report, the channel where we break down the strategy, the weaponry, and the human cost behind modern conflict. Today we're taking you straight into the heart of a war that has burned for nearly 4 relentless years. We're going to unpack not just what happened, but why it matters, militarily, strategically, and historically. Because on November 26th, the battlefield didn't just flare up, it erupted. The first figure that drops is the hardest to process. 980 Russian personnel eliminated in a single 24-hour period, almost 1,000 individuals removed from the battlefield between one sunrise and the next. It's a number so large it almost loses meaning, until you slow down and imagine the scale. That's an entire battalion, gone. But this story isn't about infantry alone. The real shockwave begins with artillery. 44 artillery systems destroyed in one day. Pause for a second. 44 full-size battlefield-grade artillery systems. Howitzers, MLRS platforms. Guns that normally survive by staying hidden, constantly moving, constantly relocating. To lose that many in one day isn't normal. It isn't bad luck. It is an operational catastrophe, and it signals something extraordinary happening behind the scenes. To destroy 44 artillery systems, Ukraine didn't just get lucky. They executed a precise, coordinated counter-battery campaign with near real-time targeting intelligence. This means drones in the sky, fast ones, silent ones, catching muzzle flashes, calculating coordinates, relaying positions in seconds. This means HIMARS batteries preloaded and waiting, ready to fire the moment coordinates arrive. This means radar systems detecting arcs of incoming shells, tracing them backward to their point of origin, and passing that location to strike crews before the enemy can relocate. Find, fix, finish. That is the mantra of modern counter-battery warfare. And on November 26th, it was executed with devastating efficiency. Next comes another massive number, 743 unmanned aerial vehicles lost in a single day. These are the smaller drones, not the massive million-dollar aircraft, the cheap modified quadcopters used to correct fire, scout trenches, and monitor troop movement. Losing over 700 in one day tells us one thing with perfect clarity. The electronic warfare environment is absolutely suffocating. It is a war of jammers versus signals, antennas versus GPS, frequencies crashing against each other like waves. Every drone that goes up risks being blinded, hijacked, or fried mid-air. When you scale these losses, you understand that this isn't a side skirmish. This is the fight for eyes in the sky, and one side is being forced into darkness. The report for November 26th didn't stop at artillery and drones. Ukraine recorded Russian losses of 4 tanks, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 2 air defense systems, 14 cruise missiles shot down, 124 vehicles and fuel tankers. That last number may be the most strategically significant. Fuel and transport vehicles are the bloodstream of an army. When 124 of them disappear, entire sectors suffer. Artillery pieces need shells, tanks need diesel, troops need ammunition. Cut the supply line and you cripple the fighting force. Now we zoom out, because the daily numbers are one thing, but when you stack them over 1,370 days of war, you get a picture that feels almost surreal. By the morning of November 26, 2025, the cumulative Russian losses according to Ukrainian estimates reached 1,168,550 personnel, more than 1.1 million. This isn't a statistic, this is a generational scar. This is mobilized men, regular soldiers, mercenaries, contractors. It is every category of fighter removed permanently from the conflict. It's a number you rarely see outside world wars, but the equipment totals are just as overwhelming. 34,688 artillery systems lost. Rust 11,372 tanks destroyed or captured. 84,960 small UAVs gone. Rust 3,995 cruise missiles shot down. Rust 68,242 vehicles and fuel tankers eliminated. Think about what it takes to build 35,000 artillery pieces. the factories, the steel, the logistics, the training. Now think about replacing them. This is industrial-scale attrition, something the modern world wasn't supposed to see again, and now we arrive at the geography behind the carnage. On the night of November 25th, just hours before those staggering losses were reported, Ukraine's general staff logged 150 combat clashes across the front. That is an extremely high number. But here's the twist. 50 of those clashes, 1/3 of all fighting, happened in a single sector, the Pakovsk direction. Why? What makes this location so vital that it becomes the burning center of the war? Pakovsk isn't just a city. It's a logistical backbone. It is one of the most important transport hubs in the Donetsk region. Major roads converge here. Rail lines connect entire operational zones. If Pakovsk falls, the Ukrainian defense to the west becomes extremely difficult. Supplies tighten, reinforcements slow, pressure builds. For Russia, capturing it would be a breakthrough. For Ukraine, losing it could mean the collapse of an entire slice of the front. This is why 1/3 of all clashes erupted here. This is why the city has become a fortress. And this is why Ukraine has deployed forces you normally only see in critical offensive operations, not static defenses. Pakovsk is being held by a mosaic of Ukrainian units, regular armed forces, National Guard formations, special operations forces, and even operatives from the defense intelligence of Ukraine. You don't deploy elite units like this unless the position is existential. These are troops trained for infiltration, raids, sabotage, deep reconnaissance, not trench warfare, not urban defense, not static lines. Yet here they are. Because if Pakovsk falls, the consequences ripple across the entire eastern theater. This is the kind of commitment a country makes when it knows it cannot afford even a small step backward. While Pakovsk burned with intensity, other sectors also lit up. Kostiantynivka direction, 19 clashes. Orikhiv-Huliaipole direction, 15 clashes. These areas remain strategically important, but compared to the inferno in Pakovsk, they were peripheral. The war's gravitational center had shifted. All eyes were on Pakovsk. But modern war isn't only fought with artillery and drones. It's fought with headlines, narratives, and public perception. Just days before this report, the Kremlin publicly claimed that Russian forces had captured Kupiansk, another strategic rail hub. The announcement spread rapidly, until Ukrainian officials immediately denied it, not partially, not vaguely, but forcefully. Kupiansk was not taken. Fighting continued, front lines remained active, so why make a claim guaranteed to be disproven? The answer lies in morale. Propaganda victories fill gaps where battlefield victories fall short. They provide talking points. They give domestic audiences a sense of momentum. But they also reveal something important. If Russia had truly captured Kupiansk or Pakovsk, there would be no need for ambiguous statements or celebratory fabrications. The fact that both cities remain battlegrounds is proof that the front line is still unresolved and increasingly brutal. Let's wrap the tactical picture. On November 26, 2025, 980 troops were lost. 44 artillery systems were destroyed. 900s of drones were downed. Vehicles, tanks, and air defenses burned across the map. 900s Pricken-2 stickers like Pakovsk saw dozens of clashes in hours. But the deeper message is this. To hold Pakovsk, Ukraine has committed everything. Its elite fighters, its intelligence units, its best recon capabilities. And that tells us that this isn't just a battle for a city. This is a battle for the future shape of the front line. A battle for maneuver space. A battle for logistics. A battle that might decide whether the next year of this war is fought on Ukrainian terms or Russian ones. When you add up the cumulative losses, the 1.1 million personnel, the 35,000 artillery pieces, the nearly 85,000 drones, the thousands of missiles, you begin to see the true nature of this conflict. This isn't a war of grand offensives. It isn't a war of sweeping territorial gains. It is a war of annihilation. A war where every inch of land is paid for with enormous destruction. A war where the industrial capacity of entire nations is put to the test. A war where the deciding factor might not be tanks or drones but endurance. And on November 26, 2025, Ukraine proved that endurance comes at an extraordinary cost. Yet the line held. Pakovsk still stands. And as long as it does, the story of this war remains unwritten. The future of this front will be forged in days like this. Days when numbers stop looking like statistics and start looking like warnings. Days when soldiers, engineers, drone pilots, medics, and intel operatives push themselves past exhaustion to hold a single point on a map. November 26th was one such day. A day of immense loss. A day of extraordinary coordination. A day that showcased the brutality of attrition warfare and the fragile, stubborn resilience of those fighting it. Whatever tomorrow brings, one thing is certain, this war isn't slowing down, and the world is watching. This has been J&J's Military Report, breaking down the battles that shape history. Stay informed, stay aware, and as always, thank you for watching.